Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blickety black, 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 I'm black, 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 y'all, and I'm black, y'all.
Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Rev Kelly, and I am unapologetically a descendant of enslaved Africans here in America. I'm a proud heterosexual male, and I am unapologetically a follower of Jesus Christ. This is a space where voices of love that are not usually heard can be heard. I would like to formally introduce this show and tell you what we are all about. This is a platform where real people discuss real topics and have real conversations. This is not a religious, social, or political platform. This is a show where the thoughts and perspectives of everyday people are voiced and considered. This is not a platform for dissension, hate speech, or anti-government rhetoric. This is a place where the thoughts, feelings, and ideas and concerns that are not voiced in the mainstream can be voiced right here. Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Activation Thursday. Every Thursday at 9/8 Central on all major streaming platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Every Thursday, our teacher, Reverend Kelly, encourages us and inspires us to get activated and accelerate towards our goals, passions, and purpose. Join us every Thursday night at 9/8 Central for Activation Thursdays.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Rev Kelly, and boy, are we in for a treat. Listen, thank you for everybody who's watching, whether you're watching this morning or whether you're watching at break time or even at nighttime. You are in for a treat. Welcome to this podcast. This is a podcast for the ordinary individual. I am somebody who is not afraid to speak my mind and speak my heart, because I know it is always led by the truth. Listen, today's episode is politics or politricks. I know you're going to be blessed by what we're going to discuss today. I just want to reiterate that this is not a religious platform. Even though I am a minister, I'm not speaking from the standpoint of a minister. I'm only speaking from the standpoint of an African-American citizen who has a right to have an opinion to everything that's going on in this society. But let's get started. Listen, everybody knows about the unfortunate passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was definitely a revolutionary force. She is actually the second woman to fill the Supreme Court seat after Sandra Day O'Connor. She was brought to the highest court in the land by President Bill Clinton in 1993, and she has been a stalwart for women's rights. She just passed, and so everybody knows that her seat is vacant. And unfortunately, even though the Supreme Court is not a political office, it is a highly political position, because we have so many different things before the Supreme Court. We got Roe versus Wade. We got issues with civil rights and abortion. We got all of these pivotal issues, and it is the highest courts who decide or uphold these laws. And so this is a critical opportunity for either side. If you look at the liberal news, MSNBC, CNN, and all of them other ones, you'll see them playing those clips of those Republicans, McConnell and Lindsey Graham and all of them saying just 4 years ago when President Barack Obama was in this same position, when he had an opportunity to fulfill Justice Scalia's seat with a nominee that he named, a guy that he nominated named Garner, but they wouldn't let him do it. And back then they were saying we would never fill a Supreme Court seat in an election year because we want the people to decide. And, it's unprecedented. And, they were saying all of that stuff. And now they have an opportunity to possibly tilt the scales and add another conservative judge. And now all of the things they said then doesn't matter. But on the flip side, you got senators like Schumer and a lot of those other Democratic senators back 4 years ago. They were saying, no, it is perfectly okay to sit a Supreme Court justice in a seat during an election year. That's the president's rights and all of that. And so now the roles are flipped. It's going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do. And the Supreme Court is very, very pivotal to where we're going to be going in the next few years. And it's even talk that if Trump wins the election, not if Trump wins the election, but if Trump is able to get her seat filled with his nominee and Biden wins the election, that Biden as president will try to add at least 4 more extra seats to the Supreme Court, which is within his rights. And there is no law on how many seats can be held as on the Supreme Court. So we might be getting into uncharted territory where a president will come in and if he don't like the balance of the court, he can add more seats and then appoint whoever he wants to the seats. So that could be a very critical thing. Up next, we got the golden boy himself, 45, Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States. One thing about this, and I want people to really pay attention to what's going on with Trump. Trump, to some people, think it's unfortunate, but I think it's actually a good thing. The mainstream media has turned Trump into the underdog. And what do I mean by that? The election is basically Biden's to lose. It's not Trump's to lose. And he is the incumbent. And one might look at that and say, well, that's because he's doing such a terrible job and he's losing in the polls and it's going to be a landslide. That's a reflection of what's going on, what's going to happen in November. But I don't think so. See, what happens is when you start placing him in the underdog category, then you'll start underestimating him. And I tell you, Trump is the incumbent and he's the underdog. And it's Joe Biden's election to lose. I don't think that is a very good place for Joe Biden, because that's what happened with Hillary Clinton. They thought all of the blunders and all of the things that Trump did, talking about grabbing women by lady parts and all that type of stuff, they thought all of that was going to destroy his campaign and torpedo him. But in fact, they underestimated him. They underestimated his followers, and they underestimated 50 years of branding the Trump name. And they didn't realize that he is bulletproof when it comes to certain political things. So you see, Trump has been getting so much news coverage. I mean, even before he was elected, when he came down the stairs in Trump Towers and he announced that he was running for president, there has not been a news cycle since then that has not said his name, showed his picture or a video or a tweet or anything from this president. He has got unprecedented coverage. Now, some people will say, well, most of it is bad coverage depending on what news outlets you look at, but the promotion is promotion. And I'm telling you, his name is bigger than any name outside of the Lord's right now when it comes to America. It's Trump or nothing. And they tried everything from the impeachment to everything to get this guy out of here. And they have not been able to do it. So I would not underestimate the 45th president of the United States. Speaking of that, November 3rd, we got a gigantic election coming. And a lot of people are talking about the doomsday election. I actually released a video on my Rev O.L. Kelly page called The Release when I spoke about the election. And some people think that the scenario is this, that on election day, November 3rd, that we could have a president announced, and then when all of the votes is tallied a week or so later, that there's another president. So I'll give you an example. Right now, we got all the issues with the pandemic, COVID-19. November is flu season, and CDC and all of the health experts saying that there is more than likely going to be a spike in COVID-19 cases, which is going to make it so that people can't move around and people opt not to vote in person. And so you're going to have the absentee votes and the mail-in votes. And you're going to have people saying that because of the pandemic, I couldn't vote. I didn't get a right to vote because of the pandemic or whatever. And so it's going to be contested. However, on election day, when the official tallies from the people who went to the actual polls and voted and majority of the absentee votes are counted, Donald Trump could very well be announced as the 45th president with a second term. But then a week or so, or maybe a day later or 2 days later, Joe Biden, after the mail-in and the absentees has been counted and all of the votes has been counted, Joe Biden could be actually named the president of the United States. And I see a scenario where they go into the Supreme Court like Gore versus Bush, and the Supreme Court deciding who was the president. My God. And I tell you, if Trump is allowed to put whoever he said he's gonna put a woman in there, but if he is allowed to put who he wants in there, he can tip the scales to where if there is a political fight of the Supreme Court, he already got Kavanaugh in there and he got a few other ones, they'll vote him in. So remember, today's episode is all about politics or politricks. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And so speaking about this political climate that we find ourselves in just 6 weeks, we get ready to have the most important election in our country's history, because we are going into the future. And what used to be or what we used to know is going to be far behind us. We're going into the future, and the world has pivoted, and there is no turning back. And so the Biden campaign, I believe, is not being ran too well. And what do I mean by that? I believe that Joe Biden is taking, not Joe Biden, but his campaign, the people behind Joe Biden. Yes, Joe Biden. I believe there's a little presumptuousness with them. I believe that they take for granted the African-American vote or people of color vote, meaning they feel like it's baked into the cake. And you see that based off of comments, even from the principal candidate, Joe Biden, when he was on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God. He was like, he told Charlamagne, a black man, an unapologetically black man, he told him, if you don't vote for me, man, you ain't black. My God, I tell you. But listen, anyways, that's not the point. The point is this. When you look at Joe Biden as a candidate, for president. First of all, he failed 3 times, right? Now, I'm one that believes that you can fail, get back up, and keep going. So that has nothing to do right now. But I'm talking about this particular political cycle. If it wasn't for the Blacks for Biden in South Carolina and Congressman Clyburn and them, he would not be the Democratic nominee for president. In fact, Bernie Sanders would be. And before South Carolina, Joe Biden wasn't coming in second place in none of those races. He came in like 8th place in Iowa. He lost New Hampshire. He lost Nevada. He wasn't in second or third place in none of them. His campaign was, they was getting ready, they was counting him out. They were saying it's over. If he don't win South Carolina, he got to get out. He got to step aside. But the black folks rallied together and came to his rescue and saved his campaign. My God. But here's the thing. This is something that I'm paying attention to, that I hope you paying attention to. The people who came out to support and resuscitate Joe Biden's political future as a hopeful political presidential campaign candidate was older black folks. My mama, your uncle, your daddy, them the people who came out and voted. It wasn't the young folks. I didn't hear too many young folks saying I went to the primary to vote for Joe Biden. I didn't hear none of that because a lot of them don't even care. They really checked out. They really don't believe that they vote really counts. And that all of that rhetoric about, your people died to give you the right to vote. That's a whole nother show. We'll get to that. But Joe Biden has not tapped into the youth of Black America. He ain't really talking that talk. He's not really offering them what they need or offering our community what we want. It's more of the same. It's just repackaged. I'm going to be paying attention to how Joe Biden is going to do. If he is to win, what he's going to do for us. But he owes them blacks for Biden, them people who voted for him, his political life. Up next, who we got here? Kamala. My God, the great beloved Senator Kamala Harris. God bless you, woman of God. The AKA, HBCU alum. Hey, listen, this sister is bad. Can't nobody take nothing away from this sister. I love her. So for all my sisters out there that's listening, I'm Team Kamala. In fact, I actually think that she'll be a better president than Joe Biden. I think she's a little bit more in touch. But unfortunately, as beautiful as she is, she has warts. And she has political warts, and they are all over her big, beautiful face. And, one of the glaring things that I don't hear too many people talking about is the fact that the Democrats really don't support her. They really didn't support her campaign. In fact, her political aspirations to be president failed. I believe she had to drop out before Iowa. When her campaign unraveled, her campaign manager and her staff was bickering publicly in the news against each other. It was infighting. The money wasn't getting taken care of, right, and all that other stuff. Her campaign was ran terribly. And then she had issues with her messaging. And there was a congresswoman named Tulsi Gabbard who was in the debate, pulled kind of got with Kamala and threw her off. And she was never really the same or really able to get her footing back with middle America or get her messaging on point. And some of the blows that she landed, some of the political blows that were significant that she landed during her presidential aspiration was actually on Joe Biden. But what I'm saying is, if Joe Biden is 78 years old, he's going to be 79 years old, and I'm not wishing this on him. But if something was to happen and Joe Biden was to pass away right now or be unable to continue at the political campaign, for president 6 weeks from now. Do you think that do you think that Joe Biden's campaign and the Democratic Party or the convention will put her at the top of the ticket and put a VP up under her and run her against Trump? I don't think so. They don't support her like that. They don't look at her like that. She is Joe Biden's pick. She is not the Democratic Party's pick. Now, what I will say is if Joe Biden was to win and somehow he's not able to get incapacitated and she the VP, I believe the Democrats and the world will get behind her. I really do believe that. But at this point right now, I think that she is more a political pawn than anything for the campaign. I think if something was to happen to Joe Biden, they wouldn't let her be the presidential nominee. And I'm not even sure if they would pick Bernie. And definitely, if they did pick Bernie, I'm not sure if Bernie would pick her. And so that's the type of infighting. That's the type of mentality that I think is going on in the Democratic Party. And so last but definitely not least, the 44th president of the United States, the Honorable Barack Hussein Obama, is coming out with his presidential memoirs. This is actually going to be in a multiple set volume. Volume 1, which is close to 800 pages, is entitled A Promised Land. And in this particular volume, the former president takes us from his beginnings as a little boy all the way up into all throughout his life through college and everything until he became the president. And then I think in the second book, it'll talk about his tenure as president and post-president. I think this will be an excellent read. You know, when he retired, he left political office. Him and his wife got a $65 million book deal for their memoirs. And we know that how successful Michelle Obama's was to becoming. Her memoirs, her personal memoirs, is a bestseller, is on the all-time best-selling list. So I know that Barack, I know his stuff is going to sell. And what I do hope is, I hope that he's candid in this particular memoir. I hope that he tells the truth about how he felt as being the first man of color in that seat. I want him to talk about how he felt racism even as he was the president, in some of those situations when he was probably sitting with other heads of states and they probably didn't respect him or think of him highly because he was a black man or a man of color. It don't matter if he was Mexican or Asian, but whatever. They didn't respect him. They thought he was a little less than. I want him to talk about when he, as one of the greatest presidents in the world, was having a State of the Union, talking about how great this country is and all the things they was going to do. A white Republican, he independent, he could have been a Democrat, I don't know who he was, stood up, a representative stood up into the chambers and called him a liar, screamed, "You lie," to the 44th president of the United States, and all of the different race things that was going on. But I think he owed that to the people who followed him. Black people were instrumental in helping him getting elected both times. I mean, one of the things, that's one of the things that Joe Biden has not been able to capitalize on. I mean, Obama was able to tap into the streets. He had Jeezy and Jay-Z and everybody out there stomping. It was vote or die when it was for Barack Obama. But Joe ain't been able to tap into that. Barack, you owe it to us to tell us the truth, because it's a lot of people who believe that you was going to be able to do some things or put some things in place that unfortunately you wasn't able to do. And maybe that was too much pressure on you because you are the first, you know, and the first can't do everything, you know. And so, you know, even though you will go down in history, in my opinion, is probably the best president or the most presidential man to ever hold the office, there is some glaring holes in your presidency where you could have stood up and been a lot more stronger and held to your convictions on some things, but you allow political pressure or trying not to appear too one way or the other deter you on some things. But other than that, I respect you, OG. But that's is what it is. So listen, that ends today's podcast, Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. I hope you enjoyed everything that you saw today, that you heard today. Listen, it's an honor and a pleasure to get with you guys. I'm doing these podcasts every single week, and so I want you to tune in. These topics aren't always political. We might be talking about UFOs. We might be talking about anything that's interesting. But I guarantee you, if you listen in, you will be entertained. Once again, this is Rev Kelly for Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. Let's talk to you soon.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blickety black, 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 I'm black, 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 y'all, and I'm black, y'all.
Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Rev Kelly, and I am unapologetically a descendant of enslaved Africans here in America. I'm a proud heterosexual male, and I am unapologetically a follower of Jesus Christ. This is a space where voices of love that are not usually heard can be heard. I would like to formally introduce this show and tell you what we are all about. This is a platform where real people discuss real topics and have real conversations. This is not a religious, social, or political platform. This is a show where the thoughts and perspectives of everyday people are voiced and considered. This is not a platform for dissension, hate speech, or anti-government rhetoric. This is a place where the thoughts, feelings, and ideas and concerns that are not voiced in the mainstream can be voiced right here. Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Activation Thursday. Every Thursday at 9/8 Central on all major streaming platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Every Thursday, our teacher, Reverend Kelly, encourages us and inspires us to get activated and accelerate towards our goals, passions, and purpose. Join us every Thursday night at 9/8 Central for Activation Thursdays.
Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Rev Kelly, and I am unapologetically a descendant of enslaved Africans here in America. I'm a proud heterosexual male, and I am unapologetically a follower of Jesus Christ. This is a space where voices of love that are not usually heard can be heard. I would like to formally introduce this show and tell you what we are all about. This is a platform where real people discuss real topics and have real conversations. This is not a religious, social, or political platform. This is a show where the thoughts and perspectives of everyday people are voiced and considered. This is not a platform for dissension, hate speech, or anti-government rhetoric. This is a place where the thoughts, feelings, and ideas and concerns that are not voiced in the mainstream can be voiced right here. Welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast.
podcast is brought to you by Activation Thursday. Every Thursday at 9/8 Central on all major streaming platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Every Thursday, our teacher, Reverend Kelly, encourages us and inspires us to get activated and accelerate towards our goals, passions, and purpose. Join us every Thursday night at 9/8 Central for Activation Thursdays.